Well, should we get into now some rankings and stuff like that before we quickly talk about Jigsaw? So what do we want to rank first? Want to do the films? Probably, because I think that's least unsurprising for the people watching if they've watched the whole way through, but...
Sure.
Who wants... Should we go... Well, no, we should go one by one. There's 7 movies, so...
Just, like, say our thing, so not, like, go around for 5.
No, because I think we'd lose track. And,
that would be way too
Okay, who wants to start us off?
I'll start us off because I spoiled with the last one. Easily last place, dead last. It's like a huge, like, fields in between. Saw 7, whatever you want to call it, that's last.
Fields in between.
Yeah, that's last. Second last, Saw 5. Hate half that movie, like half that movie. Third last, Saw 3. Funny enough, I just do not like Jeff. I love the Amanda and Jigsaw stuff, but it's similar to Saw 5. Not as bad, but I just don't like Jeff. I'm not a big fan of Lynn. Saw 4, I like this one a lot more than these guys do. I'm a fan of Riggs. I liked the traps. I like the ideas. It's an introduction to Hoffman and Strom. Saw 2, I love Saw 2. It's one of the best ones easily in this franchise. Eric Matthews is in there. He's a great lead. The house trap is a fun thing when you got so much stuff to play with in there. And you get to really, really learn about Jigsaw and his methods. And you really get to see Tobin Bell act his ass off, which is great. It almost was my second favorite. But I bumped it because I love Saw 6. You know what? I just went down to I gave them the same grade, or I think I gave Saw 6 like a 0.01 higher. I just went down which one do I watch and find more enjoyability out of. Just because that Hoffman voice sync scene, that is just like one of the greatest scenes of my life. And the number one. I've said this from the beginning. I said this from the beginning, but the original Saw. I love it. I know it is slowly paced, and it on a second watch or a couple watches, I'm like, I know the twist went up, but I love the idea of it. It started all, and I like the simplicity of it when we just talked about Saw 7, where it was way too much of traps and this and that. I love the Saw traps, like the barbed wire trap, and even though it's the fucking candle guy, it's something simple like Dylan was saying. Stuff that's feasible, and that's what I like the most. And I hope Jigsaw gets back to that. Feasible traps, not fucking lawnmowers in a field somewhere.
Yeah, it definitely gets pretty ridiculous.
So let's try to know Saw ranking.
My next?
Sure.
Okay. So I guess we'll start from the bottom, because apparently that's the thing. And I'm not...
It's because we're talking about it.
Build anticipation, that's how I like it.
It's true. So, not gonna lie, kind of, like I said, they're all kind of mushed together from 6 backwards, because I kind of watched 1 through 5 in one big sploo.
Sploo?
Yeah.
Did you make that word up right now?
Sploo?
Sploo. I've never heard that word in that context.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's not a bad word. It sounds cool, it's fun, it rolls off the tongue, but I don't think it's a real word.
Making it happen right now.
Hashtag
Sploo.
Hashtag Sploo.
Watched them all in a Sploo.
The Sploo train.
The Sploo train.
So I have 5, because we obviously have 2 under us, right? We only did 5.
Oh, I just still it. There we go. They're all there. They're not in order, but they're in my order.
Did you do like all 7? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, whatever I don't have here is 4 would be the last one.
So wait, so
I'm really confused.
Oh, okay, because I meant like 5 was 5.
Are you going from? So you're going from the bottom as well?
No, she started from number 5.
Yeah, I thought we were doing like.
Favorite.
Yeah, I thought we were doing like 5, 5, and 5 for our.
Oh no, 5. I just ranked all the films.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah. Okay. Well, 7 is 4. Okay, now everyone's on the same page.
Wait, no.
No.
7, like your least favorite is 4.
Yes. There we go. That's a better way to word it. Okay. And then like second least favorite, probably be 7. Because it still has that entertainment value. I still feel like...
What happens in 4 again?
That's Riggs.
Like, I honestly
Riggs, that's
Riggs.
when Hoffman becomes Jigsaw and Strom and Prez.
Yeah.
Art.
I don't know.
Art Garfunkel.
I feel like I don't really remember much of that one at all.
It's your list.
Yeah, it's my list.
Do what you want.
Exactly. And then 5, like my... Like down, like 5 is 5.
5 is 5. Easy to remember.
Yeah. And then 4 on the list is 3. And then I have 3 is 6. Is this confusing yet?
No.
Okay.
I'm following you still.
Yep.
Nice.
Mostly because it's kind of similar to mine.
Okay, perfect. And then 2 is 1. And then, as everyone already knows, 2 is my favorite. Still love it. So good. The Needle Pit. Prime. You know, you get Obi. It's Obi.
It's Obi.
So, you know, we got a lot of good jokes out of it. Underground Poker.
Sure.
Watching the shotgun.
It wasn't underground poker. It was underground pinball.
Pinball. Sorry.
Underground pinball.
Right, I'm not part
That's
of
what
that
Jonas
world
want.
anymore.
That's what Jonas would specifically say to people in prison.
So anyway, yeah, everyone already knew my
Fucking
favorite, so
pinball,
that was
dude.
kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah. Taylor Field.
Well,
This one, it's gonna
T-Field.
be- Yeah.
I'm gonna switch it up because like everyone always knows that I like a lot of things. So I'm gonna go with what I liked first and go down to what I disliked as last. That's me building up the anticipation.
Sure. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Saw 7, number 1.
So Saw 2 is obviously my favorite.
Obviously.
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 I stated that.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Hey!
My name's Obi.
Obviously.
Obi is Obi.
What the fuck is an Obi? My name's Obi. His whole life, he finally got a fucking Obi because Obi-Wan Kenobi. The fuck Star Wars, my name's Obi, goddammit.
Obi.
Obi, that's my name.
I don't know. Dude, honestly, if he's in your top 5 favorite characters, you're gonna be mad.
He's not. He doesn't get in there, but man, fuck, he's
close.
good. Yeah, if there's a top 10, I'd give him 10 just for my name. Obi, that's my name.
Yeah.
He's definitely got a shout out though.
Yeah. Quite a few times on this.
Great actor, You know, when Captain America dies in Infinity War, he's taking over.
I'm gonna go see what Obi's been up to.
Yeah.
Taylor's doing his
Underground pinball.
Yeah, the
He's in
movie.
jail.
So Taylor, Saw 2 is your favorite.
Saw 2 is my favorite.
Nice, good choice.
Saw 3 is next. I love Jeff, and I think the
I
fact
love Jeff.
doing that,
Why? Just so bad.
every time someone's like, "Oh, you see Saw 3," I just get that look of confidence and happiness on his face after he cuts Jigsaw's throat open. He just looks like he looks so like I'm the boss now. Like
He's not even acting more.
He dies in 5 seconds.
The actor who's Obi's not even acting anymore. He does props on TV shows.
That's awesome.
he makes the mannequins for the Saw movies.
Yeah, he does.
I
I'm
write
sure-
notes that say people's names.
I'm sure he's still acting, but every once in a while. He's been in, like, not many movies.
Wait. He actually came back for.
Since Saw 3. Since Saw 2, he's not done much. 1, do not count those. 1, 2, 3. He's been in 3 other movies other than the Saw
Wait,
movie.
is he was in Saw 5 as himself?
Flashbacks. Well, it's Obi. Remember, they were dragging
I
him
know,
on the ground.
but I just love that he's Obi as himself.
No,
Like
he-
this one, he's Obi, but that one, he's Obi as Tim.
He obviously changed.
He changed
Because
his name.
at one point, no, his name
He
is
has no
Timothy
last
Bird. Now I guess he's going by Tim Bird.
I
Tim Burton?
would also like to add.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. Hi, I'm Tim Burton. You look a lot different.
I just love how
Mine's
they brought
Obi.
him back. They're like, we need to drag you for one scene. He's like, okay.
He was there doing the
Dude, that was like a
props.
probably like clean $1,000 paycheck. He's like, I'm taking that to the fucking underground pinball.
No, they just kept saying like, oh, we're gonna do that spin-off movie soon.
A spin-off movie?
You ready, Obi?
A whole movie of him in the furnace. He lived the whole time.
And it's his life flashing before his eyes, like the Jill flashbacks, and it's Jill too, like Obi. It's
That
Obi,
sounds good.
baby.
It's
Continue. So what was it? Saw 2, Saw 3.
Saw 2, Saw 3, and then I probably Saw 1. Then the other ones are just kind of like merged a little bit here.
Well, you gotta pick.
I don't think you even ended up watching the last ones, did you?
Last ones, I didn't. I got around to watching 7 and 6. I just watched I tried doing my research and catching up on that because I didn't have time.
He's like, when I'm like, oh, you have enough time for Saw 6? He's like, yeah, I'll wake up at like 4 a.m. and watch
I
it.
didn't wake up.
That's
at
just
4
him being
a.m.
like fucking trying to be
These
a cool
movies are
dude.
short, man. Like, even
Even
I find the time to watch them.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, hurry it up here. Fuck.
Yeah.
Pick.
Okay, 2, 3, 1.
Yeah.
2, 3. Then I'm gonna go with.
Wait, you're not
Okay.
doing one?
No, 1 was number 3.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
2,
Yeah.
I did. 2, 3.
Then as my 4th favorite. Okay, 5 and
Did
6.
you not write them down?
No, because like Travis said before, like they're all in here in our good brains or whatever.
Sure.
I didn't say that. I said
Yeah,
you
you
do
said
them and then use. I don't know. It's not. I don't know why it's that hard. Just pick some.
I'm gonna go with 6. Then I'm gonna go with 4. Then I'm gonna go with 7 and 5.
Oh, okay. So you, even though I thought you liked 5.
5 and 6, I'm having trouble separating the.
5 is the one with the people that go in the individual rooms.
The
And
three
they
dots.
kill each other off. But
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll switch 5 with 6.
So 6 is your least favorite Saw movie.
Yeah, it's
all blurred together at this point.
That's how I felt too. After my top 3, it was all kind of like.
You know what
what
his
is-
problem is? It's still like, oh, Hoffman didn't have a trap. You fucking loser. Dilmas, what is your ranking of these?
My least favorite is Saw 7
Yeah.
because it's really, really bad. And then after that would be 4 because I really just did not enjoy 4.
If 4 is
Oh!
4 is Riggs and his shitty journey.
It's Hoffman's
okay.
debut.
You know what? I agree. It could be that way too. 7 and 4 are interchangeable. to
It's
1
close
and 2.
enough, right?
Yeah.
And then I'd say 5, and then 2 as my 4th favorite. Yeah, I honestly I might even switch that. I might put 2 like below 5.
Oh, I can't agree with that.
that's
Whoa.
2, no, it's. I like the Amanda
Matthew's like
stuff.
breaking his finger and shit. And
There's some good.
needle trap.
Yeah, I'll leave it as it is. 2 is my 4th favorite. My 3rd favorite is 3, so that's nice and easy to remember. You know, Jeff is such a great character. 2nd favorite would be 6, and then my favorite is 1st as well.
Oh, that's changed. You've at one point 3 was your favorite, and then I think you liked 2 a lot.
3 was my favorite at some point.
I think when we did 3, you're like, I think this might be my favorite. So
Right.
I'm happy Saw one's there. You know, we can share that bond of 1 and 2.
It's moved around.
Yeah, that's
That
all.
happens.
Yeah. What do we want to do first? Traps or characters?
I have characters next.
Okay. You go first then.
So taking that clean 5th spot.
Ollie.
So we'll do Ollie / I have Adam
Okay,
from
yeah.
OG.
Mhm.
I like him. His sassy comments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dying from his smoking that poison cigarette. He just yeah, he's got some prime moments.
Very good.
I have Matthews next. You know, him in 2, which was a prime movie. Like watch him getting mad just to like fuck himself over, and it's pretty good.
Sure. Yep.
Amanda, just because like it's hard because you get so much screen time with certain characters, you kind of have to. I don't know, like you can't say Hoffman is not on the top 5 because you get so much time with him.
Well,
Same
unless
with
you
Amanda.
hate him though. Like if someone like just really didn't like his character or his acting, like I'm not putting Hoffman in my top. There's some Hoffman haters out there. They're all wrong, but there's some
They're all
haters.
So yeah, I have Amanda and then Hoffman. Number 1's it's got to be Tobin Bell.
The big guy.
Yeah, you know, felt like he was just a prime suspect.
Tobin.
We wouldn't have the movie without him, honestly. So.
It's I mean.
I think we'd have the first one. They could. I think anybody could play that guy on the ground. I'll give him Saw 2. Saw 1.
It was originally Michael Fassbender, actually.
Yeah, and then he got cast as Magneto. But
Yeah.
they're like, we're not doing
People
that.
found that he was just too seductive on the ground, and
Yeah.
everyone's eye was drawn to him. It kind of defeated the purpose.
Yeah, can't say they're wrong. Yeah, I'll go next. I'll counter Jessica with my number 5 is Dr. Gordon. I like Dr. I had to pick one of them, and I picked Dr. Gordon. They both couldn't make the top 5. I like him. He's just such a prick, but he does have a good little journey to. You're cheering for him at the end, and he had a few little scenes with him, Saw 7, as we just talked about. But I'm primarily picking the first one. I liked him, and there's a reason I think when these movies were live, everybody was like, "Oh, where's Gordon? Where's Gordon?" Like I said, if fucking Bobby went missing, no one would have been asking where's Bobby. So
I don't know who Bobby is.
that's the guy who in Saw 7 now. Like the faker.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, that's...
Exactly. So yeah, there's some bias because he's the one the first, but still I think they did a good job making a good character. Amanda at 4, great character. We talked about her a bunch. She carried some movies. She had some of the best parts of movies. Great journey from a victim to a troubled soul to a Jigsaw apprentice. Eric Matthews, my boy. I could have took so many more movies with him in there.
Ours are very similar.
Very similar. Yeah, I love Eric Matthews. One of my favorite, just like hot-headed characters of all time in movies. He's just such a piece of crap, but he means well. And this might be controversial, but I put Jigsaw at number 2. I love Jigsaw. I love Tobin Bell, but it's just the pure thing and everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, Hoffman. But yeah, I put Hoffman at number 1. It's just enjoyable. And you know what? If I look at it from like an acting standpoint, you know what? Sure, I'd probably put Tobin Bell up there because some of his scenes are a bit better, but I love Hoffman. And these are not even actors. These are just the characters. I love Hoffman. I was cheering for Hoffman.
Yeah.
When Jigsaw died, it's like, well, it's his time to go. Hoffman, like I said, for me, he saved some of these movies that were really bad. Like, for me, I did not like 5 other than him. 7, he's some of the only good parts. So yeah, I don't think I have any honorable mentions. I'd shout out Strom. I really liked Strom.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Yeah, I wish he would have maybe been in more, and Gibson would have just been Strom or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Perez. No, I'm joking.
Carrie, you know.
Yeah, Carrie.
Right.
Yeah, that's my top 5. The big bad booty daddy makes number 1.
Me?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh no.
Well, number 1 is easily Jigsaw for me. I think
I was going the other way.
he was. I am. Yeah, he was awesome. You know, his whole idea behind things, even though he was a little contradicting at times. You know, but I mean, every serial killer probably is. They have their moments. Not that I'm one or know any. Yeah.
That's the clip they'll play on 2020, like Inside the Mind of Taylor Field. I don't know any. My home planet.
My second, I have to go with Jeff.
Your second favorite character is Jeff. He's barely a character.
I really
He doesn't do it.
I just got a kick out of him.
It's his name, isn't it?
His name, I think it was just sharing the experience with you guys just made it even better.
Sharing the load.
My name, yeah. That's just great.
It's a different movie!
I know.
That's been Jump Street!
I know.
22 Jump Street shouldn't get him up that high. And you know what? I know you did, motherfucker, because it's 22 Jump Street. You put him at number 2. I see what you're doing, okay?
What do you mean?
Just at 22 Jump Street.
That had nothing to do with
Oh,
it.
bullshit.
Nothing to do with
That
it.
movie should not affect Jeff being so high.
It didn't, but it's just his character and talking about him with you guys.
Like Dylan said, one
Flushed him
character.
out.
He just grunts, barely.
No, he gets really
He
mad at
throws-
that mirror.
Yeah. And he throws a key on the ground.
Oh, you guys are gonna hate me. Oh, okay.
Next, Obi.
No,
I'd be fine. I would take Obby over Jeff any day.
I am throwing
This is-
Matthews in there.
This is a
Throwing him. Just
Oh,
toss.
Throwing him as number
Oh,
3.
below Jeff. What an insult.
My number 4. Oh shit. Oh, I regret putting this down, but I had to because I think he was awesome. Detective Sting.
No! He barely does. He's even worse than
I feel
Jeff.
like
He just walks into cobwebs and gets shot.
I feel like he was just a go-getter. He didn't get his chance. I would have loved to have seen him make a. I don't know. He wouldn't come back because.
He ain't coming back.
But I mean, I would have loved to have just seen more of him. Like he seemed like out of all the agents, like he was just very like calm and collected, and just he could have done some stuff. And you know, he did get that shot off on Jigsaw. That was pretty impressive. So you know, like I feel like he was going places. It just those double barrels.
Yeah,
just,
to the morgue.
to the morgue. Now my 5th was like back and forth between the Kale, the blind hanging dude, and Zep. I don't know why.
The blind hanging dude.
What do you like about that character?
I don't know, I just feel like he was just really like he just.
Oh wait, the guy from Saw 7? Are you fucking? Are you kidding me? Oh my god, this is stupid. Not even Amanda. I knew Hoffman was.
Why do you like that character? Why didn't you talk about him?
Yeah. I knew Hoffman was gonna make his list either. That's why he doesn't like 6 whenever. He just has some weird hatred toward Hoffman. He just knows he can never be that cool.
That's
I've
exactly
sensed it
how
ever
cool I
since
wanna
he
be.
started.
Hoffman's really like Assassin's Creed. I thought you'd love it.
He's no Jigsaw spinning around 360 slicing.
Please give it to Zap,
snap.
not fucking Kale or whatever his name is.
I don't know,
Kale.
I did talk about Kale though, a little bit on the cast.
Oh,
like I was
barely.
highlighting him, like
not
how
in
he
the
was
top
struggling.
5 worthy.
You were laughing at how stupid the key throw was, and you're
Oh,
like,
no.
he made a bad decision.
That
I would
was
use
like-
my shirt. You just like made fun of him. You're like, that guy's a fucking idiot. And now you're like, oh, he's my favorite top 5 character. Like that makes no sense.
Oh my god.
That reasoning makes as much sense of this stupid movie.
You should put those things up to Pocket's face now. He deserves it. I don't know if you can be on the Jigsaw review anymore. The way you're going.
I'll go with Zap.
Yeah, it's a little better.
As for myself, so I have 1, 2,
Kale.
I have 1, 2, and 3 as my definites, but
Okay.
4 and 5, like I don't know, these could change. I'll put in some order. I don't know what one. I'll put Adam and Gordon
Fair enough.
because I think it's just because they have like a lot more screen time than other characters,
yeah.
and you get to see a lot more of them, and I feel like because because their trap is still within like the realm of possibility, and you kind of get the feeling of like what it would be like to be in that situation, even though they are kind of stupid at some points. But yeah, I think those two characters and the way they play off each other is really interesting. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So those are my 4 and 5. For number 3, I'll give it to Amanda. I think she's a great example of like a really like flawed character, but she's very interesting to watch, and she like just like the acting, like the little like smirks she makes, or even like I mentioned it like on the review, but like that little detail in Saw 3 when she just like is pushing that wheelchair and she like slides her foot, like I don't know, it's just the little things. Like I feel like she put a lot of work into like making the character kind of like quirky and have I don't know, a lot of like mannerisms or something, and I think it's really well done. And I'm following in your footsteps here, and John Kramer's number 2 for me, because like obviously he has a lot of really good scenes and a lot of emotional stuff and a lot of really good monologues, but I actually, the reason he's number 2 for me is because there's also a lot of scenes I don't like of his. Not really, nothing in like the first 3 movies, but kind of 4 through 7, like some of the scenes, I don't know.
Talking to that one guy at the bar.
Yeah, like,
hey,
there's some...
The human mind can take a lot.
Like,
you
sometimes he's just way too obvious about being a fucking mass serial killer.
Yeah.
And he also just, like, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I feel like it's not intentional. Like, sometimes, just like how hypocritical he is.
He also married Jill.
He also married Jill, so that's
a big strike.
So honestly, he's off my top 5. He's out of here. And then number 1 for me is gotta be Jonas. I love Jonas. You know, he's such a great character. In
the pinball master himself.
Yeah, no, fuck Jonas. Number 1 for me is Hoffman. Hoffman is so much fun. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like I'll be YouTubing his scenes.
Nice.
Like, I don't know, next time I'll watch all these movies, it might be a really long time, but I could see myself Googling some Hoffman scenes. And just watching him fuck people up, and just like so the pain train, like so
the
good.
Pain train.
All of his lines, like the way he looks at people, like his face, and just he's so scary and just
his face is just so scary.
His face is scary. He's an awesome character. Number 1 for sure.
Yeah,
easy number 1.
Big bad booty daddy.
Big bad booty daddy.
Traps, top 5 traps. I'll go number 5. I'm doing the carousel. You can listen to last podcast. I think this honestly would have been higher. The only ding I have against it is the fact that 4 people have to die. So maybe it's hypocritical that I have it on this list, but I love the look of it. I love what it partakes of as far as everybody bickering and turning on each other. Great simple trap.
The puppet like swirl in the middle of it.
Yeah, great simple trap when we weren't really having too many simple traps. That's 5th for me. The needle pit, gotta put that in the top 5 for sure. It's so good. It's a strange trap, but it's a trap that everyone still talks about. You think about yourself being put in that situation. Terrible. I can't remember actually the name. Maybe it's just called the box or the water trap or whatever Strom's in.
Water box.
Is it the water? I was so close. I'm 50%.
Aquaman is what it's called.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty quick trap when we watched it again, but I like it. I like the visuals. I think that's one of the times where the quick cutting helps. Sometimes you're like, I want to see the trap. But this worked because you could see he's just so claustrophobic and him just trying to get out and, you know, trach not, whatever, take that. The actual just look of the trap's cool and the visuals of his face in the water. Very well done. And if you look at the special features, it's actually really cool. They had to he was in there and he'd do as much as he could and he'd go like this and they could lift all the glass and make it so he could breathe right away and get rid of all the water. So it was really shot, really well done. With the rack, love the rack just because it visually looks really cool, but I think for me that's the most painful trap. That's the trap, like I said, I want the least. I'll take the needle pit every day over the rack because the rack is just awful. Especially if you got Jeff helping out. He's going to try and hold your head and stop it. And it's an obvious one, but number 1 for me is the bathroom trap. Just because it's a simple one, I like the idea. That's what started this off, was putting a shackle on a guy's leg and are you going to cut off your leg? That's the way I liked it more of, less so will you kill this person? What sacrifice are you willing to make, which, he could have killed Adam, but just the idea, the claustrophobic, them being in this room for an hour, not knowing anything, so gotta give it to the OG for me as my number 1.
I guess I will go next. So I do have a couple of shout-outs first. So I do have the water box and the carousel. I actually have the acid death with all the needles and his
Williams.
And his bottom half of his body falls off.
You killed my father, motherfucker.
The pound of flesh, and the chick has to cut off her arm. I just love watching her start to hack away. I do have the mausoleum.
In the top 5 or honorable
mentions? No, this honorable mentions. And then I do have horsepower just because
the what, sorry?
So Mausoleum is the one with the guy's eyes
Yeah.
sewn.
Horsepower Jeff? What is that?
Horsepower, just because Chester's in it, and
Oh.
I didn't
You
know
know-
that was called Horsepower.
Yeah, me either. I haven't watched.
How
the
would I
special-
know that?
I haven't watched the special features for Saw 7.
I went and looked up specific names for my list. Thank you very much.
There you go.
So working backwards,
I like to make up the names instead.
I'm
I have
interested
a
to hear
couple.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple good ones.
So I have the reverse bear trap at 5.
Oh fuck! Yeah, I'll take the carousel. I forgot about that. That's such a good trap. Yeah,
It is.
I'd bump everything down. Maybe I don't know. It's in there,
Yeah,
but
you
yeah,
got-
good call.
So I should have forgot to mention, I kind of did everything else from this up, not based on how much I liked it, but I would not want to fucking do them. So these are like the traps that I think are just the most brutal, I guess is the best way to put it. So I have 4 is the glass coffin, so if you don't get in, you like squish the walls, how
Yeah,
strong
fair
is
enough.
killed, watching his bones pop out,
It's a bad way to go.
so
Yeah, there
good.
you go.
But you get to be.
Good thing he left his hand up there.
Yeah, you get to. Hoffman gets to hold you.
Without
so,
that,
you know what?
Hoffman's plan would have gone to shit. He really needed that.
And I would take Hoffman holding my hand all day long. So
There you go. And then I have the rack. Yeah, everyone, you know why.
Yeah.
And then the classroom trap, the one with Troy, where he has to like
Yeah.
rip out his fucking face and
It's a
his
good one.
heels, and like
Mhm.
I have such a thing with my heels that I cringe even just thinking about it.
And get exploded by a bomb.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Nail bomb,
that's
probably.
Fucking
secondary.
nail bomb, yeah. Fucking nail bombs.
And then number 1, everyone probably knows the fucking stupid needle pit.
Needle pit.
It just, I couldn't imagine getting thrown into that. I would probably like have a heart attack and die right there. It
Taylor
wouldn't matter.
looks scared.
I don't know, like
It's gross.
Oh yeah.
Especially
And
because
it-
like the stuff inside those needles.
It's more that, like, I have piercings and tattoos, so you would think needles are not a thing for me, but that trap just fucking gets me.
You're definitely getting a couple of diseases in that pit.
Yeah.
At least a couple.
At least
Oh yeah, they're used. Like,
Oh,
those
yeah.
are not clean. If they
No.
were clean needles, I think I would, like,
And that's like a
not
lot of
care as
needles.
much.
Like, where did he get all the dirty needles from? You know?
Well, like, watching her, like, crawl out and, like, roll, and there's all these needles, like, poking out of her.
Gordon.
Gordon, there you
He gave all
go.
the- oh, you're John. Every time I take a blood sample, that's probably it.
Yeah, he, like, collects
Yes.
all the little yellow boxes from the hospital.
Just a truck full of. I got your needles, John.
Hey Gordon, I thought you were dead. No, I was just on vacation.
Yeah, collecting needles.
What happened to your leg? Oh, nothing.
Long story.
These needles, infection. Oh God, Taylor, what is your shit? What is
My number 1 is my favorite number 1.
my
Not
favorite
not,
number 1.
Not favorite is cringing, but definitely the needle trap from Saw 2. The reverse bear trap is number 2 on my list. Then definitely would say number 3. And I think it was just I watched it again actually too the other day, and I think it's just like every time you talk about it, but the numbers in the room and the guy with the
Well, fair
candle.
enough, yeah.
I just think, I really hate to be in that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hope that you also might not hate it because you might get it on your first try.
I don't think
completely-
so.
I don't.
You
think
could.
so.
People win the lottery.
Yeah, they're more likely to get struck by lightning buying a ticket than winning, though.
Yeah, people like to say that.
I would still take that over the rack, though.
I would
Yeah,
take that
oh
over the
yeah,
rack.
for sure.
Yeah. I thought about putting the rack on, but I just didn't want to. I just don't have any association with that. It's just.
Oh my
Just.
God.
ooh.
I don't have any association.
I don't have any
Yeah,
association.
you thought
with
about putting it on.
Yeah.
that. Well, no, I didn't want to put it on my list. Period. Like, it's a great trap idea.
Yeah, but you want to
So
talk
you
about
sat
it
down to
in
make your list and you're like, rack, no. That was
Yeah,
not
I
going on my
put that
list.
on a paper and
Yeah.
put an X and throw it in the garbage.
So what are your last two?
Just
The
pushing them
steam
on.
maze I thought was actually
The what?
pretty interesting. The steam maze one.
Where the
Sorry.
chick,
Okay.
yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah, like I thought, like depending on which end you're on, like I wouldn't want to be on the end like where you have the stake that's gonna shoot up into your head, but at the same time,
Sure.
I wouldn't trip balls like that chick did. I'd work as a team.
Well-
Like at the very beginning,
Stressful
she's
situation.
freaking out. And she spends a good probably like 15 seconds freaking out and screaming, and he's like, "Shut up!" Like, well, it doesn't say shut up, but like listen to me. I mean, I would have listened. I would have listened to him right away, but
You're thinking about Bobby.
Yeah, that's how Bobby.
Bobby.
Shut up. Fucking Bobby.
And then number 5, I was debating between the blood fill scene with Rita and the druggie.
Yeah, I thought about
Because
that
I think,
too.
you go back and grab the body from the other room and bring her
Oh,
in.
the weekend of Bernie's are.
There's that, or it was the lumberjack scene in Saw 7, because I just think that was good. But
God.
I
Stop
like
talking about this scene.
I like the detail that's put into
I
it.
don't want to hear
The
it.
mannequins that look like lumberjacks, their clothing looks like it was just.
That's why.
It was
That's
just-
really why. He just wants to see Billy the puppet dressed as a fucking lumberjack.
It was so much detail and like was put into that, like down to the last like speck of wood chippings. I don't know, like it was fantastic. Like,
To the last
Good
ray of
expression.
pink blood.
yeah, pink blood. But I'll probably go with like the blood fill 10 pints or whatever, because they realized the error in their ways at that point, and it was just very
And then they both died, and one came back to life.
apparently.
Resurrection.
Gordon's a pretty good doctor.
Super good.
He's a specialist.
He's a necromancer even. Cool guy. My honorable mention is the pig roast one from Saw 7. Just because of how fucking crazy it is. Like, I honestly, like, my brain can't conceive, like, how he made that. I'm trying to picture Hoffman creating that. And, like, it was so advanced and so fast-paced, and it's also incredibly brutal. So.
It's like a transformer.
I feel like I missed something pretty spectacular here.
We'll YouTube it after.
And it's on a poor innocent woman, too.
That's
so.
true.
Yeah.
And she's, like, chained to the ground. Cool.
Yeah.
It's not a good situation. Number 5 for me is the Jill Ripper, also known as the Pain Train.
The Pain Train.
Obviously, a big part is that Jill gets destroyed, but it's also just like Hoffman chilling there, and it's also just the ridiculousness of it. And I feel like it also doesn't really make sense. Like, I feel like if that hit someone, they wouldn't just like blow up, right? 'Cause there was no nail bombs. It was just a pain train.
And where would that room be? Where would
That's
this
a big
roller coaster?
That's a really big room.
Yeah.
It's an old roller coaster factory.
What fucking landscape did John Kramer have in his back pocket of like, one day we're gonna...
He's loaded, man. He's got everything.
Yeah.
Number 4 for me is the rack. I think because it just visually it looks very cool, and I love the guy who's in it and like the way he screams. It's so funny, and it's just very brutal.
Yeah.
And it's well done, and it gets very suspenseful, that scene. And even though Jeff sucks, but number 3 for me is Strom's death, the wall closing in. I don't know what's the name of that one. Do you have the name of that one? The glass coffin.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Jessica's actually just making them up.
Nice.
Did you have a name for it? Because he said he made up some names.
That one I didn't, because I put it in like 10 minutes ago. So I didn't think about it. But yeah, for me, I don't know. I think it was a perfect end to that movie, and I loved that like switcheroo that Hoffman pulled on him, and I love that Hoffman's just sitting there on the bottom watching all the
like
time,
a villain.
and the blood just comes down, and yeah, and you brought up a good point too when we were doing the review of that movie. Is like you've seen those scenes in movies before, but you never actually see someone get destroyed.
The arm like break out.
Yeah. And then when Hoffman goes back there in the next movie, and you see just like what's left of him, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then
the body that like falls down.
And then like the little hand is still.
I like how he has to like use
to
the
take
pliers.
the clip, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, a strong and a good grip.
Number 2 for me is one that no one here has mentioned. It's the Matthews death, being on the ice block and the two pendulums coming down and just I called it the ice block head exploder. So,
Ice block head exploder. Nice.
The master exploder.
I think a good reason that's on is just because imagine having his son have to talk about how his dad died at the funeral. Like, oh,
Right.
how'd your dad pass away? Well, these 2 major blocks of ice hit him in the fucking head.
Wow.
His head got ice.
Yeah.
This jigsaw needs to be stopped. And
Yeah,
Albie's like,
I thought that one is just. That was probably it was my second favorite. It was a great trap.
it's the most like wildly coyote like cartoony trap, but it's great.
It's nuts.
Yeah,
Nuts.
and the fact he also has no sock while he's staying on that ice.
He has no sock.
Yeah, it's just barefoot.
Oh,
so
poor guy.
even worse.
Yikes.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
That's the worst part of it all.
It
Not the decapitation part. The fact that his poor foot was so cold to help him. For me, the number 1 is the reverse bear trap.
Yeah.
Just because, not that it's like super complex or anything, but it's simply for like the story purpose of it. Like it was in the very first movie, and then Hoffman made it out of it in a really cool way, and then it fucked up Jill in the very end. So we finally got to see someone die, and it was my least favorite character in the world.
Yeah.
It's
So
just the combination of those two things together.
The combination of those two things, and yeah, it was in the first movie, it was in the last movie. It's kind of like the bathroom. I kind of forgot that the bathroom is like a trap because it's so simple compared to how crazy they all get, right? But yeah, I love the reverse bear trap and
the look of it too.
Yeah.
And we even got to see 2 versions of it in this movie, right? We got
That's
to see
true.
Hoffman or Jill's like up like one that has like a fucking actual counter on it, but I love the gross like old
the
gray
old one,
yeah.
the old rusty one that Amanda had to get out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my list.
Well, then let's quickly talk about Jigsaw. Jigsaw is out by the time this releases in only a few days. Coming out, we're not going to talk specifically about the trailer because it spoils maybe some stuff. So just maybe some predictions and what do we want from it. Or we talked about Gordon Hoffman, anything like that. We can just go around and say, like, what are we expecting from this movie coming up? Because I
expect to be disappointed.
Who's it? Is the director the same guy? Or
no, it's a new cast. It's a new
guy?
crew and everything like that. It's brothers actually.
Oh.
I've only seen one of their movies. I really like their one movie. It's Daybreakers. It's about vampires.
Oh, sounds like a movie.
Yeah, they're directing this, so yeah, they have some talent behind them. So
Okay. Yeah, I
They
think
had Ethan Hawke in it too, so
and Willem Dafoe.
yeah, that was a good one.
a true classic.
Right.
Why is that funny? He is a true classic.
Yeah,
Oh, I
you've
think
seen
that the movie was a true classic.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was in the same boat.
The movie Dylan hasn't seen.
Yeah,
True
exactly.
Classic. True classic.
Yeah.
You know, it's a go-to. You know, it's the only movie I haven't seen.
Great Christmas movie.
Have you seen it? No. It's a true classic. Yeah, I don't know. This one, I mean,
Takes place 10 years after Saw 7, by the way. That's the only thing we know.
And Tobin Bell's still kicking.
And Tobin Bell is in it.
Big
That's what we
kicking,
do know.
big kicking.
Big kicking.
Big kicking. What do I want from this movie? I want Gordon and Hoffman to come back, and I want the story. I don't know. I want to get all those answers that we
You want a proper
didn't
7?
get. I want a proper 7, but
Good luck.
is that likely? No, not really. And it kind of sounds like just the fact that it's all new people on it and so much time has passed. It really does sound like, I don't know if they're gonna retcon things, but it sounds like they're just gonna kind of take it a different direction and just make like a Saw movie, regardless of like what the story has gotten to at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
don't know.
I don't think they'll retcon things. I think they just, like, that's why compared to prequels, just won't talk about stuff. They don't talk about Jar Jar Binks. They don't talk about, but they don't say, oh, Jar Jar doesn't exist anymore. I think they'll just never talk about it and just, oh yeah, maybe Gordon's still out there, and then maybe when it gets like Jigsaw 5, like, okay, let's bring Gordon back, and then I'll be like,
Jigsaw 5. Wow, you
Yeah.
expect it to be that big of a moneymaker?
no, I expect it to be one and done. Actually, I expect this movie to come out, not do well. I think all the movies, even the first one was 54%. It's still a fail. I think it's gonna come out like a fart in the wind. You weren't on the last newscast, but like we talked about this group chat. There's been this one trailer. There's been some TV spots. I'm thinking we maybe by the time we record this, like this release, I think we might get one more full trailer. But if we don't, I just don't.
I don't even want to watch it though, because the last one was.
Well, I've been spoiled, so it won't matter. So there have
You've
been
been
some people on
spoiled?
the soft. Well, no, because of that trailer.
Oh yeah.
But
well,
some people on the soft forums did say that they have. Some people have seen. They say they don't show everything, which I'm like, oh well, I would hope so. But
yeah.
I think it's gonna be a one and done, and then maybe it'll come back in like 20 years and just be a full on like remake.
Right.
And
I
they'll
think
use high tech
a
cyberpunk
more
gadgets.
realistic prediction of what I would want for this movie. Like obviously, I do want them to continue the story and talk about those characters and what happened. But I think a more realistic thing would be, okay, take what the movies originally were doing before the story got like super convoluted, and just here's a movie and there's like a trap and you don't really know who the bad guy is.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's some sort of twist that you can't really see coming, and it kind of makes the story like really interesting in hindsight. And you maybe like miss some details, and maybe you want to watch it again so badly because you're like, oh man, now that I know what the twist is, I wonder what the movie would be like seeing it a second time. So I think more realistically, take that old school Saw formula of like what the original like 3 movies did before it kind of got a little complicated, and do that and do it well, make a solid movie out of it, and I feel like that's kind of like a realistic thing to ask for. And that's what I would like to see.
And do you think a copycat would be the best way to go about this movie?
Yeah, somebody that like admires Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could work for sure. If they don't use anyone from the older movies except for Tobin Bell's voice, or maybe I wonder if they'll even have a flashback.
Well, he's on the poster, so I think he's gonna be.
Yeah, but he's been on every poster, hasn't he?
But he's been in every movie, right? Like at least they've seen. I think for sure we'll get, even if it's one flashback. But I think we'll get.
If Jill's in this movie, man, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
It's their child. Gideon didn't die. No, I think that he will appear in it. I don't know what form, and that's what I was going to talk about now. If it is a copycat, with Tobin Bell coming back, unless it's just the voice, which I doubt is, then I would say it's my scenario of like, oh, they're using his voice and just to carry on that legacy. But if he has a scene, I would take that as the copycat would have met Jigsaw or known Jigsaw. So that's my thing where it's like, that's the other thing. If they ignore the past, there's two things. One, if Jigsaw happens, it's a copycat. Then literally down the line at Saw 4 or 5, you could have that moment where, oh, the copycat does meet Gordon, and it's like, oh, that could be cool if like Gordon's like, hey, you're doing this now, and like I was doing this, like, or maybe they're against each other. But if they ignore the past and whatnot, that's great. But for hardcore fans of the series, we talked about how many people he has as apprentice. This would be another one, and that's my only downfall. Of like, if it's not a copy. If it's a copycat that didn't meet John at all, then great. But if it's somebody that he had some affiliation with or knew, that's when it's like, okay, like another one he had like in his back pocket. So, because that's, I don't know, like, do you guys have any idea if it's not throughout, like through the killer, how could Tobin Bell have flashbacks in this? You know, like what would his reports be in the
honestly,
story?
like I don't, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they did make him like someone who is maybe a fucking cousin of a brother of someone in one of the
I
other
don't
movies.
want anything.
Like, I honestly wouldn't be surprised, because I feel like in my worldview of what happens in this universe, I'm not surprised if Jigsaw has like a bunch more people that work for him or were accomplices.
Amanda's boyfriend, like getting revenge, going
Cecil?
Jigsaw. Yeah.
Please
Oh,
Cecil's dead.
Is he dead?
Oh, 100%.
Wasn't he
he
in a
fell
trap?
in bar. Yeah, he was a face
The
trap,
razor
and then he
wire.
got barbed wire, and I bet Tobin Bell just left him there, like, big chill.
Yeah, but you need to get him out to clean the razor wire to set up for that other guy.
So you're gonna stick with that prediction?
No,
that
I'm
Cecil-
not sticking with that prediction.
Yeah. Really fuck off new people. Really, you made this one character from
Yeah.
Saw 4?
I also, I don't know how, like, do you think they'll have like another set of like detectives and cops who are trying to find out what's
They
going
do,
on?
yeah, 100%. Like, it's not gonna spoil it, but they do have one guy, because the whole thing is, remember, this is why I think it's not I don't know, because there's another theory people are floating out that if you look at the Gordon thing and the pig people, some people think that this could be like a cult that worships Jigsaw and they're doing this. The only reason that would make sense because in the trailer, it's not a big spoiler, they just find John Kramer's blood, right? And they're like, how could, like, he's dead, how could we be finding that and everything like that? So that's why, unless it is a cult, that makes sense because cults always have like freakish ways to do stuff because they always say like, we have a cop here and a doctor here. Just Jigsaw pretty much. But if it's not, then I feel like, again, the killer has to have connection to John if they somehow have his blood, you know, and because they're making it seem like he's alive and like there's all these clues like, oh, is
Maybe
he
it's a
back?
prequel.
Some people have said it could. Some people said it could be a Saw 4 where it's 2 and 2, where like maybe the trap portion is taking place now, but how Tobin Bell's in it is before, which is I think could be a little risky because like we already talked about with that Williams scene. Like I don't want him to be hinting that he's a killer when it doesn't fit the timeline, right? But some people have said that they could just be messing with us, and it is like a prequel or it's like a prequel sequel, right? Of like a double. And
I don't know if I'm opposed to that, honestly.
I'm not. It's just it could go really bad.
Easily. There's a bigger chance that it goes wrong.
And then the thing is, Tobin Bell looks a little older already now, so it's like already it's just like I guess we can just write that off. But there's just sometimes
Just gotta give him another backwards hat and he looks young.
No, you just like shave his head. He's got cancer.
What? True. You know. But, yeah, I guess where he puts on a ball cap. Yeah. I just because then it's like as a hardcore fan, if he the prequel worries me of where it's gonna fall. That's my worry because it would probably only fall between 1 and 3, and they've mined the hell out of that with flashbacks already.
Yeah.
So it's like, what else was he doing in between then? You know, like the only other thing I can think is if he's like a Jiminy Cricket character and he's like someone's imagination. But I doubt they're gonna do that. But I'm just throwing that.
Not with the live blood though.
What? No, but that's the only way I'm just throwing out there of like a possible scene to be him if it's not flashbacks. I think it will be. I just don't know how they're gonna pull it off.
I don't know.
I don't know how they're gonna pull him off being it. I'm interested in that, and like I said, I'm interested to see him be in scenes and acting again because I love the Jigsaw character. But I think I agree with you, Jessica, that I'm set up for disappointment, but at the same time, I don't think it's gonna be any worse than Saw 7. So I think it's still gonna be like a fun watch, but I don't think it's gonna be one where we walk out and be like, man, this really blew out of the water and set the stage up right. I think it'll be like. I don't know, because they're also doing it for a new audience, right?
I think we'll be the only ones in the theater and we'll be able to talk about it while it's happening and take notes in our phone. And
I think there'll be a few other...
On Thursday opening night.
George the Mailman will be there. I know him. He used to go to all the wrestling.
Obi's coming.
Yeah.
Obi's gonna be there.
His name's Obi.
That's Jonas's one night off of the League of Pinball, so he'll come out.
Perfect.
Taylor, you've been awfully quiet over there. What are you feeling about Jigsaw? What are your You got any theories over there? Some sawfreaks.com postings?
Sawfreaks.com.
Because I'm going to take credit for all your guys' theories. It was cool.
Not if I go steal the big ass Daddy Hoffman or whatever.
Then you got to put 69. I am going to put this in the forum though, so shout us out if you're watching all this.
You know, I think Copycat's probably one of the most likely thoughts, but I think it's going to be just another apprentice that we never got to see or encounter. I think they're going to
10 years later?
10 years later, I think they're going to touch on maybe, like, the origin of him in some form of how he knows Jigsaw from the originals,
Or
but
her.
Or her.
You know, I'm going to call it Jeff's daughter.
Jeff's daughter.
Some people think that.
I'm with those people. I think those people are smart.
People
Or
think
what
it's
about Gordon's daughter?
People think it's anyone that survived. They think it's Eric Matthews' daughter. They just think it's anybody. I think this is
I would love it if it was Matthew's son.
Matthew's son. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Daniel. I think it's 100% a new person. No one we've ever met, or not even anyone that has a connection. Well, it could be the brother thing or something.
I just hope it's. I don't think it will be, but I would love it if it was Daniel.
I don't know if it'll be the same actress, but I think it could be that character.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
No, I 100% think, like, make my prediction that it's going to be a new character as the killer, with just no tie to anyone except some form of relation with Jigsaw, and I think it'll be in the form of an apprentice. I'm very curious to see how it's going to unfold, because just with all the stuff about Jigsaw and everything that's in the film, I'm very excited to see, like, is this a plan that Jigsaw had in mind like a long time ago? 'Cause
10 years later, you play these tapes.
Or maybe it'll start off like someone opens up like a secret door in like Hoffman's basement and sees a hanging tape there that was meant to be found. Like no one found it, but then it happens
If
to
you're
work.
listening to this to Detective Hoffman. He's like, I'm not Detective Hoffman.
No, I'm very excited to see it. I don't know really what to expect, except like people are gonna get killed. There's gonna be some cool like lore, lawnmowers.
Trap point two.
It's just it's always neat to and an exciting feeling, at least for me, when you have like a franchise that's finished to a certain point or wrap things up with a bow, and then it's been a long time, and now you get to see what's happened and how this new world is just kind of unfolded, and like
Plus
how
with
the
new
story is
writers and everything like that, they could have a cool take that like. That could be, honestly, they brought back for money, but that could be the reason they go with these guys, because, like, oh, these guys want to take it in a different way. My counter to that is, this is not a spoiler, but the trap shows that the very first trap is, like, very similar to Saw 5's. It's, like, them with dog collars around, and it looks like, I think the whole movie is going to be, like, them going through rooms. That's my only thing of, like, I don't really like Saw 5 to begin with, so that, for me, when I see that, I'm like, major, like, alarms, red flags going off, like, oh, like, this thing again where they all die one by one, and they could have been working together, or like one of them turns out to be Jigsaw the whole time. That's my only thing that I want it to be something new and fresh, but I feel like it could be like a best of, and it might. Some people might like it because they weren't like us that saw all the rest, right? And that's my time of the prediction of that it won't be a Hoffman or a Gordon or like a Eric Matthews' son, because I think it'll be somebody that the new audience will not have to watch the old ones to know. It'll be if it's Sally from this movie.
Well, they could
it's just
set it
Sally.
up that you don't have to see the old ones, but it'll be a shout out to the fans if they do know it.
True,
So
but
They could also do the classic Saw thing of like explaining who that character is in the movie.
Flashbacks.
Well, they've done that before. Like, oh, did you forget who this guy is? Like, here's all his scenes from the previous movie.
But I think oh god, that'd be a lot of scenes. I think the problem is that though with with like, okay, let's say if it is Gordon the Killer and they show him in the movie, the hardcore fans will automatically know Gordon's the killer, right? Or I would feel the second if we saw anybody back from the original movies, it'd be like Gordon Saw 7. We get a red flag on, oh, this seems strange. So unless
they do that on purpose.
Yeah, unless the movie opens with Gordon like, oh, he is just Jigsaw, cool, which I doubt, but I think that's why it will
Or
be
if
a new
they
person.
bring back someone as like a decoy, and then they have like another old person as like the actual
Well, I was
killer.
thinking more like, because there's the rumors about it being like his son or a daughter. I mean, we're not going to know what they look like.
Is there rumors
now.
about son or daughter?
Well, isn't that what people are speculating? That it's.
That's not really.
With
Like, sorry, speculation. not
Oh
rumor.
no, it's just people popping off theories.
It's just
There's
people
no,
on
yeah.
Saw Freak stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just like that and other like YouTube content. It's just people, but they'll throw anybody out there that's alive.
Anyway, so say.
Like, there's a comment for every single possibility, right?
Perfect. Well, I'm going to touch on a couple of them. So even if it's like, some detective from the first one, or, someone's son or daughter, anything like that, someone from a different trap, they don't have to necessarily be someone that we know, but we could go through this whole movie not knowing who they are, and then at the end they'll be like, oh well, my name's Daniel Matthews or whatever. Jeff. My name's Jeff.
No.
So I mean, they could play it in a way that we don't know who it is through the movie, and then tie it back in.
Sure.
Yeah, I could see. I could see it being someone we know of or someone that is connected. I just don't think it'll be a character we've seen physically. And okay, I won't count Jeff's daughter because we saw her when she's 10, but I mean somebody that had like speaking dialogue in scenes. I guess I was just gonna ask. So yeah, we've talked about Hoffman and Gordon. Any percentage there in these? I think Hoffman's a big 0. I would like to just at least know what happened to him. Like I said, even see a dead body.
I don't think. Maybe the dead body, but I don't think.
I'm gonna give a 12% chance that Hoffman will come back.
12.
And a 17.5% chance that Gordon will come back.
Well,
Yeah, I think Gordon, if this is successful, I think he could come back eventually. But I could see them really just ignoring. I don't think we see either of them. I think Hoffman is mentioned or we see his body. I don't think Gordon is spoken about at all. And that's what we'll be talking about with Jigsaw and be like, where's Gordon? And they're just gonna do it again. They're just gonna retroactively like build this hype up again for where's Gordon.
I feel like it'd be the opposite. I feel like they would touch on Gordon first before touching Hoffman because they would be. I think they're trying to kind of like not like what you said, kind of like just put the other ones that came later, like after like 4 on like kind of the side a little bit.
But that's what with. I feel like you go. What do you?
I totally don't agree. It's gonna be in the news that Hoffman was the Jigsaw killer and he was connected with him. Blah blah blah.
Is it
and
though?
Gordon
Because
was
in
working
Saw
the shadows.
7, they never say Hoffman's a killer and he's just locked in the bathroom, right? I don't think
But even Gordon, no one's gonna know that he's part of the.
That's why I say no.
No, but I feel like not mentioned as a Jigsaw killer, but I feel like Gordon as a reference could be like, oh yeah, there's like we have like a doctor, someone on the case, or you might see something like a picture in the background as they're walking through an office or something. I feel like they'll have a nod to him.
I don't think at all. I think they're gonna do it just like the OG series. You can maybe hear one thing mentioned, but I don't think it's gonna be that prevalent. I think even Hoffman. I think you just see a body. I think Gordon is. I think Gordon will be a big mystery again, and I don't think we'll see him at all. I would love to. I would love Jigsaw just to end with him being Jigsaw. Because you know what? The way he says game over in Saw 7, he can deliver that line like nothing, but...
He's got his 2 apprentices already, so...
Yeah, he does.
He sure does.
Do anything else to add? Any other predictions? Anything we want to see?
I have the prediction that I want to go home and have some food.
Wow. Yeah.
You not eating? That's
I had
take
a
it from me.
bagel at 2 o'clock.
Oh god, take it from me. It's not a good feeling.
So.
Take it from Taylor, the only person who's ever been hungry.
Yeah. Anything else
This
you want?
podcast became a lot longer than I expected it to. I'll just say
I
that.
feel like you should have expected that it was going to be long.
Normally they're only like an hour and a half.
But we did this stuff now, you know?
Yeah. Well,
We did rankings
I
and
was
we
thinking,
did
like,
Jigsaw.
you know, maybe 2 hours, 2.5. We're at like 3 hours now here.
Wow.
Wow.
Who'd have thunk?
Who'd have thunk?
Anything else to add on Jigsaw, guys? No? I'm very excited either way. It's another Saw movie. It's fun going into a Saw movie fresh and not knowing anything. I'm hoping to be like Saw 1 being floored, and I hope it's going to be good. And
I'm excited to be on the same page as you guys now.
Yeah. So if you like this entire series or this podcast right here, talking about theories or whatnot, definitely check out the review. We'll be doing it right after. We're doing it late Thursday because Friday we got some shindigs going on. Yeah. But Thursday.
Just one shindig.
Yeah. So this is one of the times where Geek First will be a Thursday. It's going to be right after the movie, so you can catch us live late. If not, you can catch us right in the morning. The podcast and video version will be up of the Saw Retrospective. Taylor, where can they quickly find us?
So they quickly find us, all you Saw fanatics out there. You can go with your internet connection
To the Saw forums?
to the Saw forums at
You can
Saw
find Big Booty Daddy Hoffman, and that's me.
Booty Daddy. Check it out. There's some good content in there. Big Booty Daddy.
You just keep saying that over. You're gonna wake up and say, Big Bad Booty Daddy!
Big Booty Bad Daddy, whatever.
You're drunk, go home.
Get on the internet and, in the Googles, type in your Facebook.
The
And on the Facebooks, you type in that search bar, Geekverse Spacebar Podcast. There's tons of awesome stuff. Spacebar, not type in the spacebar. You gotta actually you gotta hit the spacebar button. It's very crucial because there's other Geekverse stuff out there, but we're the only ones with the Saw Retrospective, so make sure you tune in.
Well, there's some people out there, but we're the one with the best ones.
We're the only only Geekverse that provides you with Saw
We're the only one with
Retrospective.
Taylor.
Geek First Podcast. So maybe we're the worst. GeekFirstPodcast.com. You can find everything. If you like this episode and all the previous episodes, There's tons of spin-off shows. Go to our website and you can find them all. Facebook and Twitter for our social media. Podcast, SoundCloud, iTunes, Podbay, Stitcher Radio, Google Play on video. Yeah, on video, YouTube, Twitch. Twitch should be coming back soon. Working on it. If you like what we do here, please go over and give us a subscription, a like, or a review, anything that helps us out. If you want to help us even more, go to Patreon. You see that spare change sitting on your floor? You got a bunch of dimes. Give that to us and you get nice exclusive content, early episodes like this. You could be watching this 2 weeks early before everyone else. So what are you doing?
You could be the cool kid in school. You could be bragging about the fact that you're seeing Geekverse episodes early.
Yeah, so Geekverse has a theory about Jigsaw. So go there. Thank you very much. And for the last time on the Saw Retrospective,
Game over. That was good.
We did it.
It was.
I may have control of the gauntlet.
Woo! Welcome to my world, bitches! Woo!
But I also want to dominate the gauntlet.
And that is going to happen November 4th.
I want to take it by its throat and strangle it till it's dead. I'm going to bring order to the gauntlet. I'm going to inject it with a lethal dose of poison. And maybe, just maybe, oh, maybe,
I'm not alone.